Today on WTF, we're showing you how to make homemade burrata stuffed with basil and balsamic pearls. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
And I'm Hannah.
And today on WTF, we're talking all about how do you make homemade burrata fresh from milk, and then a fun new way in order to stuff that for a different dining experience. Hannah, let's talk first a little bit about the process of making cheese from scratch. What do you need in order to make homemade cheese?
Yeah, so you really only need a few ingredients, and to start off, the first ingredient, of course, is raw milk. And I'm gonna say specifically raw milk because if you go to the grocery store and you buy pasteurized or homogenized milk, that milk has actually gone through the process of being heated up and pressurized, so it's disrupted the casein proteins in that milk, and these proteins are really important, and we need them in their natural state so that they're going to coagulate properly and we're actually going to be able to make cheese. So go the extra step, find somewhere that sells raw milk. It's what is going to be making the cheese.
Yeah. And it's a fun, like once you have that raw milk, it's not a difficult process to make your cheese at all. But if you're like, I definitely don't have any raw milk and you want to still make homemade low moisture mozzarella, we do have a recipe for that you can make from store-bought milk, link in the description below. But today we're talking all about fresh milk, raw milk, and how do you make cheese from that. Okay, so what is our process for making cheese?
Yeah, so we can kind of just jump into the demo here. It's pretty simple. So we have our raw milk. This is 1 liter of milk, and we are going to be heating this up to 98 degrees. All right. So the other 2 ingredients that we're going to need here is we are going to need an acid, and today we are using distilled white vinegar, but you could also use citric acid or lemon juice. And what this is doing is it's actually changing the environment of the milk. It's making it acidic, and that is going to start off the coagulation of these proteins. So, okay, we're going to just start turning this up. And you're going to want to drizzle in the vinegar. If you just dump it in, it's going to kind of shock the milk. And so I would just recommend going slow with this.
Yeah, so one of the big differences, if you do happen to have citric acid or you're interested in, is that the citric acid doesn't have that shocking effect. So that's why if you ever bought one of those like DIY ricotta kits, usually what it comes with is citric acid because it's easier to use compared to the vinegar. So, you know, if we just stopped right here today and we just kept going on this, what we get would be ricotta.
Right. And so the next ingredient we're going to be using is rennet, and we're using a microbial form of rennet today, not the rennet that comes from a calf, just a little bit more humane. And what this rennet is it's actually an enzyme, and it's a very strong enzyme. So this is also going to be helping with the coagulation of these proteins. So it's kind of 2 ingredients acting together to do the same thing. Yep.
And when we buy rennet, you know, it usually comes in tablets like this. So we're here in our store, we sell one of these little strips. I think it's, okay, I don't remember the price, so I'm not going to mention it. But you get 10 of these, but I believe for 1 liter of milk that we're doing today, you only need a quarter.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're talking for 10, you actually can make cheese 40 times.
So now that we've got all of our vinegar in there, you can actually see, I don't know if you can see on camera, but you can start seeing these proteins coming together. It happens really quick. And so for our second step, I have our rennet. I have crushed this just with the back of a spoon, so it's fine powder now. And then I would also recommend diluting this with a little bit of water. As I said before, this is a very strong enzyme, so if you just dump this right in, it's going to start acting fast. So best to spread it around all of the milk so it has the best potential. All right. And just give that a little stir. Okay, oh yeah, and you can already see these curds forming just from the vinegar. All right. Make sure actually get the rennet out of the bowl. All right. So we're just gonna give this a quick stir and then make sure that it is at 98 degrees or really between the range of 85 to 105. Because rennet is an enzyme, it's heat activated, it's gonna catalyze it, make it work faster. So you're not gonna wanna go over 105. You don't wanna denature the enzyme. All right, so we are at 88 right now, so we just need to get a little bit hotter.
Okay. And then once you're kind of letting the enzyme do its work, how long does that process typically take, or what should people watch out for?
Yeah, so we're gonna take this actually off the heat once it reaches 98 and let it just sit for 15 minutes. You're not gonna wanna touch it or move it, just kinda let it chill, let it do its thing, and then after 15 minutes, we'll show you what to do next.
Okay. We'll be back. Okay, and we're back. The cheese is just about ready to go. But before we get to it, of course, I wanted to talk about this week's giveaway. This week's giveaway will be a pack of the rennet as well as a jar of the balsamic flavor pearls so that you can make this recipe at home. In order to enter to win, leave in the comments below something else that you would like to see us tackle in the future, because we're kind of like playing around right now with recipes for, I would say, early fall, late to late fall. So anything fall related, let us know what you'd like to see us do. All right, Hannah, we have this, the milk. It's been sitting there for about 15 minutes. What do we do with it next?
Yeah, so we are just gonna go ahead and start cutting up the curds. So I've seen most people do this by just slicing diagonally, horizontally, vertically, really just making the curds into little squares. And as you can see, we have all of the casein curds is the white, and then we have our liquid rennet left behind.
The whey, if you will.
Yes. All right. You're gonna wanna be a little bit gentle in this step. Try not to break everything apart too much.
Okay. And what's the purpose of cutting up the curds?
So this is just going to help us with our next step. It's also going to help separate the casein from the whey, just because there is still whey inside of these chunks, and we really want to get just kind of as much pure of the pure casein as we really can. All right, so you can just kind of give this a good stir. Again, just be kind of gentle and these move around, right? And now we're just going to kind of strain out the whey. And to do that, I find it easiest. We don't have any cheesecloth right now, but you could also do that as well. But I'm just gonna use a spider.
If you happen to have at home like a 100 micron super bag, that will also work. I think watching cheese get made, it feels very magical, because it really is like, it's very transformational, which I think is kind of cool, because then when we stuff it with the balsamic pearls, that's also another transformation. So I like this dish very much for, like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. I think we take cheese for granted these days. Like, it's just like, it's everywhere, but then when you look at it happen, you're like, who initially figured this out? The history of cheese making.
Let us know.
I'm sure someone's out there has already done it.
Yeah.
I just need to Google it.
But I mean, at this step, you could take this and make it into mozzarella. You could do traditional burrata and make the stracciatella cream with it as well. Or if you have another idea of something you want to stuff with this, I think it would be cool. You could do red sauce or pesto or maybe prosciutto.
That may be kind of fun to do for Halloween, some kind of like exploding one that looks like guts are coming out.
Oh gosh.
It's a little early, but you might see that come around.
Halloween episode.
Around Halloween episode.
All right, so we're just gonna press this, really get most of that whey out. And then will come the stretching process.
Yeah, and I know that people always say you can keep the whey and do other things with it. Since I don't eat cheese, I don't know what these other things are, but I know that it's pretty densely nutritious. I'm sure you can do a lot of fun stuff with it.
Dry it down, make it into a powder. You know, you have your own protein powder. All right, so we have our curd pretty much all by itself now, and that's what we're looking for. And then we are just going to go ahead. Actually, let me just move this all off screen.
Okay.
And we are just going to put this into a separate bowl. All right. Let me just, before I make a big mess, let me just move this. All right. Okay. So as you can see now, this should be what it looks like. There's just a little bit of whey at the bottom. That's okay. And it should be one big mass, basically, is what you're looking for. Okay, and next comes the step. As I said, we're going to be stretching and pulling this. So I have a pot of water over here. It's around 180, I would say. We do want this hot, but we are going to be putting our hands in it, so you don't want to burn yourself.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay, so we're going to be gentle and just pour our hot water right over this.
Okay, and what does the hot water do?
So this is just making the proteins more pliable so we can work with it. As you're going to see, this really does stretch all the way out, as typical mozzarella does. And I do have a bowl of ice water over here if your hands are getting a little bit hot. And I would definitely recommend wearing gloves for this.
Yeah, definitely do not burn yourself making the cheese.
So go ahead, just prep yourself, make your hands a little bit cold, and then we are going to go in and grab our mozzarella. You can start kind of folding it in on itself. You're going to be pulling it, folding it in, and you're going to want to keep dipping it into the hot water. All right. And this is just a fun activity to do, you know.
It looks like it. It looks like adult Play-Doh.
Yes.
What are you looking for as you're stretching in order to know, okay, like it's stretched enough and I'm ready to stuff it?
Yeah, so as you can see right now, it just kind of looks a little bit grainy. We want it to be smooth and pliable. Oh, and I did just forget one thing, and that is salt. You are going to want to salt your water. It's just going to kind of get rid of that sweetness that milk tends to have and just kind of balance out the flavor.
Okay.
So just a little bit of salt in the water. All right. Gloves.
So the ice water is purely just for dipping your hands in so that you don't burn yourself.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we are just going to keep doing this for, I'd say, just a few minutes, maybe maximum 5 minutes or so until it's good and ready. Cool. All right, so we can see it's starting to get a bit warmer, more pliable. We're getting that classic mozzarella stretch now.
Nice.
You just leave it in the water a little bit, let it get hot again. It's just going to be easier to work with that way. And I'd say 1 liter of milk is probably going to make you 3 balls or so, depending on how big you're going to make them.
Yeah, I think if you're making them like appetizer size, they don't need to be that big, right? Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to go ahead and rip a portion of this off because we're not going to use all of it, of course, to make 1 portion, as we just said. So here we go. Just let this sit for a second. So at at this stage, you're going to kind of want to make it into a pizza dough shape and just keep, oh, got a little hole in it. Let me try the other one. All right. And the nice thing about this, it's very forgiving. Just put it back in the hot water and try again. All right, so as you can see, we're just stretching it out. You do want it to be a little bit see-through, so nice and thin. And then to stuff it, I found it's easiest if you kind of make a C with your hand, and we are going to go ahead. Actually, just one second. This might be a little bit easier without a glove on. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I have just a few basil leaves over here, so you can go ahead and layer these down. This part's kind of up to you on how many you want to put in here. And then I have our flavor pearls over here. We do sell other flavors on our website if you want to try out any other flavors.
Yep, so these are the Christine Le Tennier flavor pearls. I call it spherification for people who don't want to do spherification, because everything comes pre-made and you can just spoon it out and serve it, stuff it, garnish with it. So it's really great. And like Hannah said, tons of flavors on the website. Check that out. Links will be in the description below.
And we're just kind of making a little purse with it. Just be careful, you don't want all your insides coming out. And we are just going to pull up.
This looks like a dumpling at this point.
Yeah, surprise dumpling. And you're just going to want to rip off the bottom, just twist that right off. Put it back in, you can use that to make another one, and then we can flip it over. And there you have it. We have a little burrata stuffed with basil and pearls, and it is ready to go on the plate. And these don't really save, so you're going to want to make this and serve it right away. So we can put it right here, and there you have it.
Yeah, and we can certainly just then cut that open to see kind of the presentation of it. Here we go.
Do you have a knife?
I don't have a knife. It's okay. We'll just cut it with that knife.
All right. All right. And here we have it. Get those pearls out there, and you have a stuffed burrata.
Yeah, look how pretty this looks. It's totally full of little surprises, and I'm sure people are already thinking, what can I stuff it with? So earlier when I did the giveaway, I forgot to mention that you can also enter to win by letting us know what you would stuff it with. So that would be another fun idea as well. So this is kind of a really cool technique. It's, it's pretty simple to do, but it definitely has a lot of wow impact. It looks great, it tastes amazing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And until next week, from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
And I'm Hannah.